Wald joins us now from Jacksonville in Florida. She's an energy consultant and the author of the recently published book, Saudi Inc. Ellen, firstly, congratulations on the book. You can see it on the shelf there behind you. Well done for that. So let's talk about Saudi Arabia. It's seeing prices for Brent crude going up to between $80 and $100 a barrel. Firstly, how realistic is that over the next 12 months, do you think, given the global supply and demand picture?
Thank you so much for your kind words about the book. $80 to $100 a barrel is still a big jump from where we are now. I definitely see oil prices continuing to rise, but I'm not sure that 80 or 100 is really all that likely, given the fact that we are really just beginning to see shale oil producers and other producers around the world react to these higher prices. And there are many who think that they are going to ramp up production and we will see prices falling in the second half of the year.
OK, so plenty of potential for the shale boys to come back in strength. Look, if prices do reach those levels, does that risk tipping the world from a potentially low inflation environment to a potentially very high inflation environment, completely changing the calculus for central banks around the world?
That's entirely possible. And one of the other issues to keep in mind here is that OPEC is looking at deciding whether or not to extend their production cuts beyond 2019. And this is a decision that we're likely to see take shape between now and June. And that's going to affect oil prices basically, well into 2019, if not beyond that. So we have to really watch the situation very closely. We're in a point where supply and demand are much more in line now than they were before. And so certain incidents can have a much larger effect on oil prices than they did before.
Look, let's talk about Vision 2030, Saudi Arabia's big plan to wean itself off of oil and diversify its economy. That whole plan was hatched when oil prices arguably were much, much lower, $50 perhaps lower a barrel. Now that we're at about $74 a barrel, is that plan unraveling? Has the impetus to diversify gone away?
The Saudis really have their foot on the gas pedal here when it comes to Vision 2030. And regardless of where oil prices end up, this year, next year, or even in the next 5 years, Vision 2030 is about the long-term economic health of the country. And the fact remains that the oil is only going to last so long. Even if they discover more, they will run out at some point. And Vision 2030 is about preparing for that long-term future.
OK, we're almost out of time, Ellen, but so where do you see oil ending up at the end of this year, do you think?
That is a big question. I tend to not like to make predictions, and a lot will be riding on this June OPEC meeting where they are going to be deciding whether or not to extend this production cut agreement. We will have a little more clarity on that after tomorrow, after the technical meeting concludes and we hear from OPEC and Russia about what they're hoping to do.
Energy expert Ellen Wald, thank you very much indeed.